Yeah, so let's get started. Go ahead and tell me who you are, where you're from, and what do you do?
Gotcha. Well, thanks again. It's Amanda Holbrook with Specialized Trust Company. See my Vanna here. So we do self-directed IRAs and 401ks. Basically allow you to get money off of Wall Street and back onto Main Street via this vehicle. So all of the same types of retirement accounts that everyone has heard of to date, Stephen. So 401k, traditional Roths, all of those, except of being stuck with this little limited box of you can pick them yourself. These stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You get to move over here and invest in what you know.
Okay.
So I've been doing this for almost 14 years now. So I've been in and around this world for a long time. I've seen a lot of cool stuff, but I've never ceased to be amazed some of the new stuff that I see. And that experience brings a world of value that's not 100% quantifiable to our clients, but that's why they stay with it.
Okay. So what type of like alternative investments are allowed in a self-directed IRA?
So great question. So this is all regulated by our buddies at the IRS. And I don't know if you've read tax code lately. They aren't very friendly on here are all the wonderful things you can do to take advantage of our tax code. They pretty much tell you what you cannot do. So I'm going to start there and not in a negative way because I'm totally Miss Positive Pants, but to kind of give you an idea of like what you cannot do is okay, number one deal is a no-no is self-dealing. Okay. So if you are doing a deal structure where you are benefiting in the here and now today versus in retirement, you shouldn't be doing that deal. It is a retirement account. When do you think the IRS wants you to benefit from a retirement account?
Right.
I'm giving you the answer in retirement. For all of you that are listening.
Yeah. So what does that mean as far as like a here and now? Can you give me an example of one, like something like that?
Sure. So I get this one all the time, Stevens. Hey, Amanda, we own this cash cow of an Airbnb, or can I just buy it for myself and make it self-directed? And the answer is no, because you're purchasing it from yourself. This is another good one from like all of my what ifers out there, and you know who you are. What if we do this? Hey, can I lend to an LLC where I'm 100% owner? I mean, technically that's not me, it's an entity. But in the event of an audit and still back the layers of the onion and your name is where the buck stops. So that's a no for the IRS.
So would that be considered like an arm's length transaction?
So that right there is the exact opposite of an arm's length transaction. An arm's length transaction would be where you are not lending to yourself. And that's a perfect segue into number two is like the who. So when we get to retirement, you do this in your business too. What is your why? What is driving you? What are you putting this all together for? It's family. I mean, 9 times out of 10, those kids and family members have something to do with it, right? Think of the family tree, like when we were kids and we all drew that out. Think of the trunk, your spouse, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren. If we're in the trunk of the tree, you cannot lend to them using your IRA or vice versa. That's where the arm's length comes in. So that's a perfect segue. You were that kid that read ahead in class, were you not?
No, I was the kid sleeping and somehow I made it by.
But now, since we're on family, if you branch off of that family tree, so brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, fair game.
Okay.
Brother wants to lend to your business you own 100%, perfect. If your aunt and uncle want to fund your next deal, that's perfectly fine. The last one has nothing to do with real estate. It is some black and white investments IRS says you can't do. Artwork, collectibles, stock of a subchapter S company, insurance products are all no-nos. So now that we covered the main list, now it's get creative. What do most of us know? What's one of the 3 basic needs of every human on the planet? Real estate, right? If you're surrounded by 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor, you have real estate. You can invest in, so let's talk real estate. You can own tangible properties, rentals, flips, private money lending, sub-2s, private placements. You can do tax liens. You can be a private money lender. You can go into funds. You can own percentages of private companies. You can do precious metals, oil and gas. You can breed cattle if that's your jam. Like the list goes on.
Okay. You said oil and gas, right? So precious metals would be on that list. Private lending, you already said. So what you're saying is with your self-directed IRA, you can be a private lender to other people.
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody comes to you with like a real estate deal or buying like a cash flowing business, let's say like some in a construction trade or something like that, you can lend your money to that person as a private lender and get a fixed return on that money.
Absolutely. Or you can own a share of their business and get a fixed return on it.
Or you could own a share of their business. Okay.
Deal structure.
Okay. Are there any type of like restrictions on the type of investments? I know you kind of went into that as far as like what you can hold in the self-directed IRA. So you said nothing like crazy and outside weird stuff. Give me break down that list of weird stuff that you can't invest in.
Yeah, what you can't invest in. And it goes back to the other rules. Artwork, okay? No Picassos. In the crypto world, what are the images that you sell? NFTs. Thank you. So I got this question, and honestly, there's been no like letter ruling in it to my knowledge, but literally in the definition, it says artwork. I'm willing to bet that's probably enough. Collectibles, okay? Could you buy a car and flip it or rent it out? Yes. What if it has historic plate? Is that deemed a collectible?
I don't know.
Some of this stuff can be up to interpretation. Baseball card collection, like, Mickey Mantle rookie card. Is that in a retirement account?
Probably not. Probably not a good idea to do that anyways.
Yeah.
Not the retirement funds. All right. So then let's stick to just, let's say real estate and cash flowing businesses. So give me an example of, I guess, how that works. So for example, like we invest in businesses, right? We buy businesses, we operate those businesses. And if an investor likes the return that we're offering, how do they do it? Like what is the process? Like how much paperwork is involved in that?
So easy. And one would think like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard about this before.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds daunting. It really sounds like, because you don't know what to do. And it's like, obviously that's what you guys are here for, but like, what does it look like from them when they decide, okay, I want to invest, or I want to explore investing in this business?
Much easier than anyone thinks. And I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. We do all of the heavy lifting for you.
Okay.
Like literally, we pre-fill out the paperwork. It's all done via DocuSign. The most laborious thing I bug anyone for is a copy of their most recent, say, old 401k that we're moving, that statement, and their driver's license.
Okay.
That's it. Like that's it. That's it.
Okay.
Once and this is all done over a phone call. Like we're very high touch. We do everything for you. We're very giving and open on education. Because we want that person to be comfortable. But yes, application, ID, and statement. We do that right over the phone. That's done via DocuSign. We're all familiar with DocuSign. Within 2 weeks or less, our team in Albuquerque, they move the funds from A to B. So 2 weeks or less, the funds are here.
Okay.
Like you're ready to do a deal. Like it's that simple.
Okay.
And then once the funds are here, Stephen, literally the only requirement we have is $1,000 stay in the account.
Okay.
Like that's, so once they're here, now you're presenting them with an offer. And let's say, give me an example. This would be an example of a deal structure. They're doing a note to a business. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, something to that effect. So let's say we're buying a business for $2 or $3 million, and we're going to be doing accredited investors, and each share is $100,000. Okay. So it would be set up like a kind of like a syndication model where the investors are going to passively partner with us, and they're going to need to bring in either 50,000 or 100,000, depending on the deal and the share size. And we'll give them a preferred return. We'll give them a monthly return on their money, and possibly, depending on the structure of it, they'll get some equity in the company, or it'll be a profit share, and they'll get a portion of the proceeds of the sale as well once we exit the company.
Perfect. So for those of you listening, if this is sounding more attractive and more controlled and secured than what you're seeing in the stock market, and yes, I'm doing the up and down motion with my hands if you're not watching, okay, then this is absolutely an option for you. And here's how it works. Everything you just listed sounded like paperwork, right? Yeah. Here's our offer, right? Totally, and you have your standard investor packet. Like it's already done for you. The only difference when they're using that self-directed account, it's just like when someone uses an LLC. They put the name of that LLC on your paperwork, right? Okay. Well, here they're going to put the name of their IRA. So specialized trust company custodian for benefit of Stephen's IRA. Okay. Right. Then once they have that, they email that to us with just an internal 2-page form that says, it bosses us around on paper. It's called Direction to Invest. Specialized. I'm doing 50K into this deal. Here's the wiring instructions. Okay. In 24 to 48 hours, it's processed. We give them a phone call, and you'll laugh at this part. So we're based in Albuquerque, everybody. Okay. I don't know if you guys have friends and family at Albuquerque, but our area code is 505. If that phone call comes through, answer it. Yeah. It's a security measure. We're making sure the wire instructions are okay. Like that's the number one delayer of deals. And I know I say that like poking fun, but there's got to be, the process has got to be clunky, and it's not. Like that's the one piece. And I mean, you guys are all business owners. You look at KPIs and all of that. Like that's the number one delayer of funds going out of an account to a deal. It's just verifying those wiring instructions. But like once
Yeah,
it's
and what's funny too is like I never get spam calls from Albuquerque. So pick it up, basically, is what you're saying. Okay, so then we've kind of gone over that. So the paperwork part is like relatively simple. So instead of them wiring money from a bank account, they're going to be telling you to wire money from their self-directed account. So
right.
in a sense, like instead of them going to their bank who's holding their money, they're going to you who's the custodian of their account.
Right.
You're the controller of their account, but they have to tell you what to do with it. You can't do anything with their account.
Yes. That's the self-directed part of it, guys. Like you the boss, right?
Okay.
You got to boss us around. All right. Tell us what to do. You say jump, we say how high. Like
Okay.
that's how that works. And yes, we're the custodian, you know, and I get this question sometimes, Stephen. I don't know if this, why do I need you guys in the middle? Well, because the IRA says you need us. That's why. You know, don't mess with the IRS.
Okay,
and
got it.
that's what you have to have. So can I bring something home for you? You said you had some great things. You said monthly returns, possible equity. You know, it depends on how that particular deal is structured.
Yeah.
So guys, if you're doing this from like a Roth IRA or solo K, like those profits are coming back tax free. It's all tax shelter.
Okay, so that money then comes back into the self-directed account once it's returned.
Yes.
Okay. And then at what point do they pay tax on that money?
So if you're in a tax deferred account, and guys, not to get technical, but this is like your traditional 401ks, traditional IRAs, SEP simples, right? That's just the tax environment they're in. You've been playing kick the can this whole time. You're just kicking the tax can down the road. So our buddies at the IRS say, hey, at 59 and a half, you and I and everyone listening are able to pull their money out without getting slapped on the wrist. If it's from a tax deferred account, you're just paying ordinary income tax on whatever you take out at any time. Okay. That's a universal rule. If you're taking it out of a Roth of any kind, it's tax free. So you never pay any taxes.
Wow.
So that's diversification is what I'm hearing. Your timing couldn't be better.
So if it's always deferred and kicked down the road, what happens when I die?
Good question. Morbid question, but I appreciate it.
I mean, I know you know
like death and taxes. Let's keep it real, y'all.
Right, yeah. So when I die, I got this huge chunk of money in this account that I've built up over my entire life. And I want it to go. I have 2 daughters, by the way, 5.5 and 2.5. And I want them to have it. How do they get it? And legally inherit the money and not have some big tax bill.
Yeah. So it becomes an inherited IRA at that point.
Okay.
So they're never forced to take it out in one lump sum or anything like that. So when you leave it to your children, for example, and I'll use your girls as an example, you know, they would do, I'm assuming, a 50-50 split. So they each would receive an inherited IRA.
Okay.
They can no longer put their own money into it, but they can still keep investing from within it. And now they have early income that they can pull off of, because it's going to go off of your age, Dad, when you passed, when they can start pulling that money out. Now, if you made it a Roth, you just created tax-free early retirement for them. And when they list their beneficiaries for their beneficiaries and so on. Yeah. So that's where like our education on the tax diversification strategies really come into effect.
Okay.
But yeah, inherited IRAs, that's, I will tell you, one of the biggest accounts that people don't realize that they can self-direct.
Wow.
Like not only all retirement accounts have a built-in succession plan, as you should with every account. Like even your business and checking accounts, you guys should have beneficiaries listed, because tomorrow is not promised to any of us.
All of ours do. Are there any limitations on how many investments somebody can make out of these accounts?
No. And there's no ceiling on the growth either.
What's one of the biggest accounts that, I mean, not to disclose like your client's information, but like what's one of the biggest accounts that you've ever seen?
That I've ever seen?
Yeah.
The most I've ever seen, like with my own eyes, had just under 100 million in it. And that's with my own eyes. There are bigger accounts out there, you know, and I mean, I get to see all of it, guys, like the good, the bad, the ugly, you know. Oh, Amanda, like I always see the aversion of eyes. Oh, I have like 5 401ks. I just kind of like abandoned. Like my record's 17 so far. So you know, welcome the challenge, you know. We'll see how many there are out there. On that note, do you know how much money's out there in retirement accounts?
No.
Over $32 trillion.
Just in the US, right?
Yeah. US retirement accounts. So that includes IRAs, 401ks, etc.
Wow.
That's huge.
Wow. And that money's just sitting there getting pushed around in the waves by the stock market.
Wall Street. Yep.
Yeah. And like nobody really has control over it. Well, the people themselves, the owners of the accounts, they don't have control over it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, if you're on a traditional platform, guys. You know, you're given a menu to pick from. And if you want something off that menu, like legally, some of those advisors can't tell you what's off the menu. You're going to hear phrases like weather the storm, it's all cyclical, time corrects all things. I mean, these are all like one-liners that you hear where you feel stuck and you feel trapped, like there is no other way.
Yeah.
Well, there's no other way in their world, like with those blinders on, but you're hearing today, you know, there's a other way.
Yeah.
Like it's your money. Like when I have clients that tell me that, I'm like, and how does that make you feel? Are you okay with that? The emotions we're going through right now.
Man, how, like, I know that you guys don't control like the investments themselves, right? I don't know because they choose, but like how often can an investor expect to like get an update or maybe even statements from you? Do you guys send out statements? Is that how it works?
Yeah, we do. So with us, you have to remember this is all education based and self-directed world. So yes, you have an online portal. You can see all your activity. We do mail out paper statements. We do it once a year, you know, it's kind of like trees, you know, but we do a lot of education on, you know, how you can do different deal structures, or, you know, like you mentioned, you have two little girls. Do you know how you can get Roth IRAs in their names and get them growing tax-free money over 50 plus years?
No, I have no idea.
That's
Can I do
completely
that?
fine. Yes, absolutely.
Can I open them like at this age now for them?
As long as they have a heartbeat, earned income, and social security number. So the key is that earned income.
Yeah, so if my company pays them for some marketing because I use them in some of my marketing things when I post on social media and stuff like that, and I pay them a reasonable amount of money per year,
Right.
then they can now take some of their earned income and put it into an IRA.
Yep, a Roth IRA.
And what's the max contribution per year that they can do right now?
6,500 under the age of 50.
So if they get paid like $12,000 a year for marketing and photos and things like that, I can take 6,500 of that after they pay taxes on it.
Correct.
Take that 6,500 and put it into an IRA for them.
Yep. Now it is growing tax-free forever. Now you may be thinking, if you're listening, well, what the heck am I going to do with 6,500 in an account? You just said 50K is your minimum. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Is there anything stopping you from partnering accounts together on a deal?
I don't know. Is there?
No, the titling is going to be a little bit longer, but that's okay.
So explain to me how that looks, because now you got my freaking wheels going crazy.
So let's say, for example, you have an opportunity, all right? And let's say it's a note to a business and it's, you know, we'll say 100K, all right? And between your two kids, each of them have 5K in each account. You can structure that so that, you know, Papa's got the lion's share at 90%, and the kiddos' Roth IRAs each have 5.
Wow.
Totally, you're 100% ownership, right? So if you're getting, you know, say 10% return, et cetera, it just is coming back and the pie is getting split up how it was written on the original contract or the original subscription agreement, whatever that paperwork was.
Okay.
Split
Now,
95-5.
not to get too deep into like SEC regulations, but if our offering is for accredited investors only, can we still put the kids' accounts in there as a partnership, or I'm not allowed to do that?
I'd want to double check with an attorney
Okay.
because they're minors. I would think they just grandfather under you, you know, because obviously a minor is not going to be filling out your investor questionnaire. You, as the responsible party, would be. You're managing those funds.
Okay.
As they come of age.
So they would be basically borrowing my accredited investor status because I'm their.
You're managing their money. You're their responsibility. You're their parent.
Yeah.
They couldn't just say, you know, you couldn't open their account and your rebellious 13-year-old come in and say, I want to drain my account because my dad took my phone away. You know, that's not going to happen.
What phone?
Yeah, we're not there yet either. I'm with you. Mine are 11 and 6, and nope, that's a whole nother topic.
All right, well, that's really freaking interesting to me, and I think that a lot of people that I know who are in this world investing in stuff, a lot of people don't even know that that's possible for them to open accounts for their kids using earned income that can be paid through their company for legitimate.
So that helps out your company return as well.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, you're not giving any IRS guidance or anything like that, but it has to be earned income for reasonable, you know, work, such as marketing and photo shoots and things like that. I use them in my marketing materials. Wow. I mean, that's massive. Okay. So as far as statements are concerned, like once a year, basically you'll send out a statement, but at any time they can call in and say like, hey, how much money is in my account? Or log into their portal, right?
Yeah, they just log in their account just like you would if you had an account at like, I'll just say one of the big banks. So because
Okay.
when you log in, it's colorful charts and graphs and all of these numbers where just be honest with yourself. You don't really know what you're looking at a first glance. I mean, I do this professionally and I look at folks' portals and I don't know what I'm looking at. Like I had to do some digging, like that's by design. Again, you log in here, it almost reads like a ledger. Hey, I have this note to this business. Here's my principal that came out and here are the interest payments that have been coming in. Here's my return. Like super clean, easy, like your children could look at it and figure out, oh, this is what I'm making.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Okay. So I have another question. This is a little bit more specific, and then I know we got to wrap up soon. If somebody's selling a business and they are doing seller financing on the business, so they're actually not giving away a note, but they're holding a note for a business, just like if you do seller financing on a piece of real estate, can they be paid into their self-directed account?
No, because that's an asset that they already owned.
Okay.
So that would be self-dealing in that piece.
Okay. That's where the self-dealing part comes in. So that's
because
not
they already own the business existing.
Okay.
So it's the sale of an asset that they already personally owned.
Okay, makes sense. Now, the last thing before we go, can you give me like a few examples of some success stories or people that you've helped in certain real estate or business areas and kind of like not what their returns are, because that's all based on their thing, but like I have a client, like for example, I have a client who invested $300,000 out of self-directed account that was moved over from a 401k that otherwise they would have never known. And now they're investing in real estate. Give me an example like that if you have something off the top of your head.
Right. I have tons of stories like this, which is great.
Okay.
So I'll give you this one. This is it. He's top of mind because they're doing a little get together here in October. This is a gentleman I met. He's a doctor, had always saved and was just getting up there, was owned by his practice. Is like, I need out of here. I want financial freedom of time. So started getting back into real estate back in 19. Here's what he did. So he started getting into real estate, buy and holds, and then got into small multifamily. We took his 401k from the practice, moved it over here so it was fully self-directed. He didn't have W-2 employees. That all worked out. It was all tax deferred at this point. Okay. So meaning he was kicking the tax can down the road. So as he went down this road, when he takes that money out at 59 and a half, he's in his early 50s, that's all going to be taxed, which sucks. Not really,
gain, right? Everything that he paid, he's going to be taxed on that massive amount.
Exactly. And he knew he was going that
way, by the way.
It frustrates me. And just so you know, there's a part of the 401k that can be tax-free. And this is what I explained to him. And that's only been around since 2006. So when you say like, oh my gosh, that's so stupid. Like for you and I and anyone that's like, thinks like a business owner, no one's busting their hump this hard to be in a low tax bracket when they retire. Come on. Right. Like that's just so backwards. You know what I mean by that? So professional phrases only, guys. So what he did, he moved it over, bought a bunch of real estate, and I planted the seed with that tax diversification. I'm like, look, you have to know the tax code. When you are doing depreciable assets, etc., there's something called depreciation, cost segregation. These are all things that are in the tax code, right? Again, you guys, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, no tax advice, legal advice, blah, 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 blah. But these are things that we plant seeds on that other people on your financial team should be talking about, because you can do what's called a conversion. If you ever heard of a backdoor Roth, Stephen, or the mega backdoor Roth?
No.
So it's when you switch from tax deferred to tax free, right? Okay. When you do that, who do you pay in the middle?
I don't know.
Uncle Scam.
Okay.
All right. You got to pay that guy. He gets a piece of your pie.
Okay.
So here's what he was able to do. The good doctor he amassed a good amount in his account. He was just under $1 million and he didn't start with that much, so it's done well, but he's been really hitting the gas on what he's been doing outside his retirement account. Cause I told you, he wanted time freedom sooner than later and he got it. So now it's like, okay, how do we use the tax code to our advantage? You know how much of his tax deferred money he was able to move in 4 years only over to this tax-free side without paying a dime in taxes?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Over $500,000 without paying a dime in taxes. So now you guys, as that 500K, as he doubles and triples that, when he takes that out at 59 and a half, now mind you, he's just his mid 50s now. So he's not even 59 and a half yet. But when he does, he doesn't pay a dime in taxes.
Wow.
Ever.
Well, a part of me is like, it sounds too good to be true. And I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So why is it not too good to be true, I guess? Or Like, what do you say to people who are like, there's no way, of course, the government gets taxed on everything?
No, it's just knowing the tax code. See, that's the thing. When you work with someone that's in our professional arena, I'm going to tell you right now, here's the line that you get all the time. Because have I talked about taxes and different investment types a lot during this call? Yeah. Am I a CPA? No. Am I an attorney? No. Am I selling investments? No. But I am one member of your financial team, and I'm showing you how to pull it all together, right? It's just like when you form a company, right butts, right seat. You know, that is how you build. It's the same thing in your financial arena. When you call someone that is in the self-directed field, you usually hear, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Starrick, we are just one member of your financial team. You're going to have to seek out your attorney or your CPA. And they leave it at that. Like, if no one is willing to educate, and here's the different pieces of the puzzles, and here's the different 3 ways that you could do this, or how you can do this for your family in multiple accounts, like some of the things we touched on. You can tell us, like, hey, I don't want to do that just yet, and that's okay. Whereas when you have another financial professional, you know, say that they are making money off of your money, they don't quite tell you that fashion, right? You know, like, it's very okay for you to say, hey, I like option A, option B, option C, you can go pound sand on that one. And it's a-okay. Like, just how you would have a conversation with a business partner, like, it's the same way.
They're fully in control, obviously, of their account. You guys don't give them any investment advice or tell them what to do at all. They tell you where to invest it, and you tell them if it's legal or not, basically.
Yeah. We're educating you on the how, you know, and that's the other piece. Like, when folks do like our family plans, you know, our CEO, Edwin Kelly, he's just like the Yoda of the self-directed industry. He's been around such a long time. Like, what we've been able to do for like those clients is we do live interactive monthly calls to where it's a community, right? And you know this, it's not what you know, it's who you know, so you get to hear what others are doing. That's like, that would make sense for me. Just like your opportunity, like buying into businesses. You know, most folks, when you use, if I mention Peter Thiel, do you know who I'm talking about? He's like the classic example that's made it to the headlines of self-direction. He's like, you know, the godfather, golden child of, ooh, did you hear Peter Thiel? For those of you that haven't, you know, one of the founders of PayPal bought shares in his Roth, sold PayPal, now has hundreds of millions of dollars tax-free in his Roth IRAs. You guys, this is the same concept.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't this, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't some of this stuff written in the tax code, like, by the help of the Rockefeller?
Yeah, you'll hear it called the Rockefeller strategy: control everything, own nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff, like the self-directed piece of this, guys, if you reach back into the tax code, has been around since the 70s. Like, we are not sharing anything that is just brand new. It's like when you're talking with advisors about IRAs, 401ks, like, they are regulated by the same literally chapter of the revenue code. But in those institutions, they can narrow that lane just to serve their purpose of stock bonds, mutual funds.
So tell me about like the fees that are associated with something like this. Is it like a percentage based, or is it like a flat fee, or how does that work?
Oh, it's based in 3 areas. And I'm going to tell you, just overarching, guys, because this can get granular. It's a percentage, a fraction of what you're paying for a managed account. Like, self-directed accounts are not expensive. You have a one-time setup fee, annual fee, transaction fee. Those are the only 3 areas in our whole industry where you would see fees, you know. So for someone that's like opening up a 401k, you know, you're looking at, say, under 50 grand, just above a SMIT, like $2,037. That's it. It's not expensive to do. And guess what? The tax code last year changed at the Secure Act 2.0. You actually get a tax credit for establishing small business plans up to 5K. So I just did a call last week with a group of CPAs, and they're chuckling, which is great when you can always get CPAs to chuckle. But they're like, the government is throwing money at you to set up your small business plans. And I'm like, yeah, they are. You know, a $300,000 IRA, because we work with some great fee-based advisors, you know, don't get me wrong. I have some great relationships with fee-based advisors. They're less than 0.5% is if you're looking at it like a percentage of assets under management, which is how that world looks at it, Stephen. Like, that's how they look at their costs. They charge their fees on top of ours and still don't get a fee objection. And they know they've got like the white glove red carpet treatment for their client, where they don't have to put the time and effort in because we're taking care of all that. We're just back to the advisor when it's time for them to do their investment. Hey, funds are here, you know, go ahead and get your paperwork started. Here's your titling.
Okay. All right. So basically what you're saying is it's really reasonable to set up one of these. And most of the times, if they're not using an outside advisor, it's actually a lot cheaper to set up a self-directed than it is like one from one of the big companies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hands down, undeniable, because there's no back-ended interest.
Yeah.
And for those of you
Yeah.
questioning that, I'll challenge you. Do you know right off the bat what you're paying for your account?
Right. Usually the answer is no.
No, because
Yeah.
it flows. Like when
Yeah.
you log into that pretty colorful, portal,
Yeah.
it doesn't say, "Oh, here's my fees for the year."
No, you really got to dive deep, because I've tried to find like what are my actual fees. And it's usually on that statement, on either the quarterly or the annual statement, but it's on the back page, on the last page, on the back of the last page, right before the legalese disclosures, you finally find out what you paid.
Yeah, it used to be like that paper thin prospectus where they wouldn't even print it on like the regular white paper. It was like the newspaper tissue stuff.
Yeah.
And now everything's gone green.
Mhm.
So, are folks actually looking into that even less? More than likely.
Yeah.
No,
Wow.
you're right.
Well, this has been awesome. Any last thought that you want to share about what I should do with current retirement accounts with you
Oh,
guys?
yeah. My last thought is just talk to someone. I mean, if you're watching us, I've got a QR code up here. It's never a matter of if it makes sense, it's just when it makes sense. So ask and open up your network, figure out where you're at, where you've been, where you're at, and where you want to go. And 9 times out of 10, this has a place in there at some point. If you're not there yet today, that's okay, but at one point you will be, and you want to know how to take that next step, so that would be don't be so passive about your retirement, because one, time creeps up on you. Two, if you're not focusing on it, no one looks out for number one more than you.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the world that we live in, so you want to be focusing on this stuff. And if you're not happy with what you're seeing, do something about it. And we just took about, and I know you live in the world of accountability as well. What we're doing today, for those of you that are just hearing about this, is you didn't know what you didn't know until now. But what we just took away are your excuses.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to figure out, okay, what makes sense. And that's where we're coming from. So I'll leave it at that.
One big takeaway for me, like that I had no idea I could do, was opening accounts for my girl, and then have that just compound, right? Because a lot of parents and grandparents, especially ones of old school thinking, are like, open a 529 college fund account and just let that thing grow. And I'm like, now that I know about this, like, okay, yeah, we'll keep the 529s that we already have, because it's going, right? It's fine. But this is going to exponentially grow massively, and there's no real like limitation on what they can use the funds for. Like a 529 account, we can only use it for tuition costs or anything related to schooling and education. That's pretty much it. We can use it on room and board and stuff, but like it's very limited. This is not limited whatsoever. And I'll bet you the whole value of the account that I'll make these self-directed accounts worth way more money by the time my girls are 18 than that 529 account ever will be.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And play with a compounding interest calculator over time. I mean, they have so much time on their side. I mean, the Roth could do poorly, but over that many years, they're still millionaires by the time they're 59 and a half. And these are tools, like for you and I, this only came around in the late 90s. So it wasn't even like an option for our parents. Now this is new. I mean, this is where, us as parents need to start putting away these tools now. And to your point, like I always use this example, you've got your 529s, and there's a Coverdell educational account that's like a 529. You can self-direct. So that's for education, right? But when you get to empty nest syndrome, they're still draining on your checkbook, right? Like I don't know how many empty nesters I've talked to. They're like, they have this vision of, we're going to Australia and Costa Rica, and we're never going to be home unless our kids are home on holiday. And it didn't happen that way. Why? Because there's still more to be had. I mean, we're all of the have your assets pay for your lifestyle, right? Well, you could take a down payment for a home from a Roth IRA. It's one of the exceptions, right? Fannie Mae will fund up to a quad, right? They got to live somewhere. And so all their friends in college, and the dorm sucks. So I don't rent those other 3 units to their friends, pay the mortgage, create an additional cash flow for your kid. Now they have an asset that's sustaining them through their college years. They can focus on school, do the backpack trip if they want, and then when they graduate, they have a cash producing asset, to help them on their way.
That's such amazing stuff, because I think that you just gave a bunch of people some secret tips, but they're not secrets. It's all public knowledge. It's just that it's not taught mainstream. I really appreciate you sharing all that stuff, because that is some massive value that's going to create some massive wealth for a lot of people in the future. So Amanda, tell us how we can find you and get a hold of you other than the QR code above.
Yeah, so all my info is right here on the screen. You can always find us at specializedtrustcompany.com. My direct dial 505-514-0587. You can text me, you can email me, aholbrook@irastc.com, or my lovely Vanna QR code goes right to my calendar.
Awesome. So IRASTC.com.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right, Amanda, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and we're going to be talking a little bit later about opening up some accounts for my girls for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you all for listening.
All right. Bye.